And the recording is officially started. I'm Lee.
So, Madam Chair, I will just, for the announcement, say that this is the regular meeting of the Redistricting Advisory Member Selection Work Group for April 29, 2021.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Welcome to this virtual meeting of the Charter Commission's Redistricting Member Selection Work Group. This meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared health pandemic. The city will be recording and posting this meeting to the city's website and YouTube channel as a means of increasing public access and transparency. This meeting is public and subject to the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. For the record, my name is Jill Garcia, and I am one of the co-chairs along with Andy Kozak of the Charter Commission's Redistricting Advisory Member Selection Work Group. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of the quorum.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Present.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commission Chair Clegg is excused. Co-Chair Kozak?
Here.
And Co-Chair Garcia?
Present.
There are 4 members present.
Thank you. Let the record reflect we have a quorum, and we will now proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information system, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov, and it is also in the chat. Commissioners, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Smith.
Second, Hawkins.
Is there any discussion before the clerk calls the roll? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion to adopt the agenda.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Co-Chair Kozak?
Aye.
And Co-Chair Garcia?
Aye.
There are 4 ayes.
Thank you. The motion passes and the agenda is adopted. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes from the regular meeting of the work group on April 22nd, 2021. May I have a motion to adopt the minutes from this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
And is there any discussion before the clerk calls the roll to approve the minutes? Not seeing any, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
I'm going to abstain since I was not at the meeting.
Okay. Co-Chair Kozak?
Aye.
And Co-Chair Garcia?
Aye.
There are 3 ayes and 1 abstention.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the chair's reports, and I have nothing to report that isn't part of the overall meeting. The next item, 5.1 on the agenda, is to consider the second draft of the Redistricting Advisory Group application and job description. And we will use, I believe, there was confusion in the which revision was looked at and updated, and I may have been confused on which version off of which to work. So we will work from the one that's in the agenda packet. Or let me see. So here is the application for appointments. And, okay. Yes, we will go with what is on the shared screen. Does anyone have any comments, suggestions? Just to review, we have had this reviewed by the city attorney's office, as well as vetted and reviewed by HR so that it complies with standard operating procedure for the city.
So I think the application looks good. I just had a comment. There's on the first page of the application, kind of in the middle, it says during the period of August 2019 to August 21, have you been or will? There's 2 wills in there. One of those could be removed. And then just kind of on that second line, looks like everything's been centered. Maybe it could just be flushed with the left margin.
Sounds good. Thank you, Commissioner Smith. And I know this was a document that was inherited. So I'm sure Ms. Weber will do what she needs to in order to make it much more clean with regard to formatting and easier to use.
Chair?
Yes.
Okay, so the version on the screen right now is the formatted, corrected, edited version. So I'm not seeing the typo that was just referred to. So
Okay.
Yeah, if you're still seeing it, can you let me know?
Yeah, I guess I was looking at the one that was sent with the agenda, and that's actually different than the one you show on the screen. So it's been corrected, the one that's on the screen. I was looking at the wrong one.
Yes, and this is where my error shows up is, and I was incorrect at the beginning of the meeting in as far as which one we're seeing. We're seeing the one where there's been some quality control review and is more up to date than the one that is with the agenda. But they're just minor revisions and clarifications at this point. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Thank you for putting in the statutory reference above this chart. We wanted to make sure that people understood why these questions were being asked and that they weren't discretionary or something that we decided to add. It looks fine to everybody?
And one thing I'm proud of our city.
Was someone, Commissioner Hawkins, were you, oh, there's a hand raised.
Oh, it's Commissioner Sandberg.
Oh, yes.
I'm trying to bounce between the one that was sent out and the one on the screen, which makes it a little bit twitchy, but I just assume that Nicole will go through. There's a few places where the spacing isn't very good to the bottom line. I think wherever it's a phrase about are you able to devote the time required for participation of the advisory group? It looks like it got jammed in, and it makes it a little harder to read, that's all. So I'm assuming though she'll go through and do that, because where is that?
I think it's
It's
cross
up and it's up above. Do you plan to leave Minneapolis as your permanent resident through the period? And then I've got on mine a sentence at the bottom, but wait, maybe that's not here.
Chair Garcia, may I?
please.
Thank you. So if you go into the chat and you click the link for that correct application that we're viewing here on the screen, you can view it yourself. But
Okay,
I believe
thanks.
the edits you're referring to are on what I'm displaying right now.
Perfect.
Because the phrasing that you're referring to has been changed.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and again, I apologize for the confusion. The one on the screen is definitely the main reference. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Weber. Are there any other questions on the application? Seeing none. Do we, Ms. Weber, are there any other issues regarding the application? Should we, Mr. Carl.
Yeah, Madam Co-Chair, I just wanted to suggest that I know this committee is looking to finalize and get these approved and submitting them to the full commission for the vote at its meeting next Wednesday on May 5th for approval so that we can begin to use these documents in their final form. I might add that if the committee is open to this suggestion, there are small, what I'll call formatting pieces, right? Spaces between and fonts and some corrections. Commissioner Smith raised this with, the bullet points moving to the far right and things like that. If the group is okay with that, I have not looked at this from a formatting perspective, and I think that we can clean up some of those formatting issues just so they look a little bit better than they are in draft form. So I would suggest we approve the content and the overall form with the approval that the chairs can work with staff just to do some of that last little cleanup on formatting.
Agreed. Thank you very much. Yes, our number one priority is to demonstrate transparency and clarity and make sure that the substance of these are accurate and clear. So that is what we will review and approve for this meeting, and any other typos and more formatting revisions will be done between Commissioner Kozak and I with staff. Of critical importance is that the substance is here, it's correct, and it is clear for members of the public who will be reviewing them and who will be viewing this meeting as well. Additionally, I'm sorry?
Madam Chair, it's Casey again. I
Yes.
would just draw attention to the fact Commissioner Sandberg had raised questions about an issue and states in the chat that issue still exists. Ms. Weber, you had indicated it was corrected, but Commissioner Sandberg is saying she's still seeing the issue on page 2 of the application form that you're displaying.
This is Commissioner Sandberg. If it's okay, I'm just going to I just downloaded the ones that Nicole pointed me to. I'll just make comments on them and send them back to you guys.
Thank you. Okay. I think this looks good, and we can, shall we take a vote on the individual documents before proceeding to the next, or shall we adopt them all at the end? Is there a preference?
Madam Chair, just from a procedural, easy roll call perspective, it might be better to say if there's no objections, we're going to consider this approved, and then we can do one roll call at the end for all the documents.
Perfect. So this is the final ring of the bell. If there are no hands up for discussion or comment, I will consider this approved, and we can move on to the next document. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Weber. This is, I did. Okay. One suggestion. Okay. I did have. Okay, this is a little, there is some difference between this and that which I had weighed in on. For one, may I suggest we change the title from job description to position description to clarify that it is indeed a non-compensated role?
See, the one that's posted in the chat does say position description. I guess that's the one that I'm looking at.
Sure. Okay, good.
Ms. Weber, can you scroll to the top so we can see that? This says job. She
Hold
said.
on one
Change
moment.
this to
That's the
position.
different one than the one that was just posted in the chat.
Yes, you're correct.
I am thankful for so many eyes on this process because this has been quite.
That looks like it there.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, yes. The advisory group member duties are enumerated.
Just one thing I would note in that first paragraph, do we know for sure it's 9 members, or should it say up to 9 members? I've seen that up to 9 members and other descriptions. Then like the third line there.
I believe 9 members is what is in the charter.
That's the limit. The charter says you can have up to. It could be that the Charter Commission chooses fewer than 9, but 9 is the limit.
And I would strongly suggest that our target is the 9 for inclusion, transparency, and comprehensive engagement. Commissioner Perry.
Yes, speaking for as one of the co-chairs of the Rules Committee, we use the language up to 9 in our documents. So I don't know. I recognize your point of wanting to maximize at 9, but I'll just say for in terms of consistency of documents, we used up to 9 in ours.
Okay. Commissioner Kozak?
Oh, Madam Chair, I think that I think we could probably leave it the way Commissioner Perry suggests, but I would maybe at the big meeting we could emphasize that we're going to, unless we don't get 9 applications, we're probably going to have 9. That's what we want, is we want 9.
In the big meeting, I gather you mean the Charter Commission?
Yes, on May 5th.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair Clegg.
I'm sorry I was late, and I'm only able to join briefly, but I wanted to pipe in that the charter itself does say up to 9. So I think we should be consistent in all places with the charter language. Thank you.
Thank you. So that will be one of the editorial revision updates that will be conducted. But to get this Ms. Weber, are you sharing your screen? Or is someone else?
Yes, I'm sharing the screen.
Okay. Are we looking at what the language used to be?
This is the previous version that I had sent out to Maddie for the agenda that includes the up to 9
Okay.
that was just discussed. So which of those two phrases did we decide we want to leave it out so that it matches the charter? Is that correct?
Yes, I would say up to 9.
Okay.
So all of the documents in the chart, including the chart, are consistent in agreement with the charter.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I guess I'm a little bit confused about the documents. I see the one on the screen does see up to 9, but again, I opened the one that was in the chat function, and that one doesn't see up to 9. So
I'm going to jump in here to all the commissioners. There are about, multiple versions. I think what you have on your screen, don't look at anything except what Nicole puts on the screen. If you have it on agenda, if you have it in email, if you have another version, don't look at it, because with all of this back and forth, we've got too many versions. I believe, Nicole, you can be the one who says it. What she's displaying here is the current.
this is kind of a minor issue. I just noticed in the second bullet point and what's on the screen there, the last sentence says that there's an ampersand sign, which I don't know. It seems like it would be more appropriate to spell out and.
Chair Clegg? Chair?
Sorry, my hand was supposed to be down. Sorry.
Oh, okay, of course. Okay.
I have a question just about the dates. On the first page, it talks about August 2021 through March 2022. And then I think below that, I can't see it now on the screen, but I think there were some references to November 2022. I'm not sure if those are consistent or not.
Chair Garcia, I could speak to that on behalf
Yes.
of Carol Bashoon.
Please.
Carol just wanted to be clear that there is always a chance that that if things were rejected, that it could potentially go all the way until November 2022. So I realize that that's a bit of a confusing message and might be something worth discussing now that you've brought that up.
Chair Garcia,
Yes.
I just want to add that under make every effort to attend all meetings, it does use August 2021 through March 2022, and it says maybe extending if court challenge. That's based on our deadline of the end of March 2022 to get the redistricting done. Of course, it could always go further out, or there could be a court challenge. There could be issues that come up where it does go beyond March 2022, and it could just go. It could go straight up to the election of November 2022. So any of those dates could be changed, but I'm looking at what's here and it seems to be somewhat consistent to me. But if there's any other dates that are inconsistent, we could change those.
Thank you.
I had another comment just in the yellow section that's highlighted under absences. And I don't know if this is in other places in the document, but in the third line, it says his or her, and I guess I may be thinking strike the word each and then say use their. And I don't know what the city is doing in terms of documents, but I know, sometimes people don't identify as a he or her, and to the extent that we can kind of keep things gender neutral, perhaps that's better.
Yes, I agree.
I think, Madam Chair,
Yes.
well, I think in that sentence that the commissioner mentioned, if you just take out, if you go back to that, shall use, I just think all you have to do is say use best efforts. How about that? You just knock out his and hers.
Yeah, that would work too.
Yeah, I think that would be the easiest.
Thank you. I'm going to call on Ms. Weber, and then after her, Commissioner Perry.
Yes, and this may be something that Commissioner Perry could comment on as well. The reason this section is highlighted here, this absences portion, is because it has been edited to reflect what was agreed upon, and I believe Commissioner Perry yesterday in the meeting for the rules work group voted on to bring forth to the full Charter Commission. Previously, it specified that you would be allowed up to 3 excused absences, and now that has been changed. So we might want to discuss that.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes, I don't have the changes in front of me, but we did do I think what we ended up doing is keeping the language as it was to be consistent with the charter rules for absences. So we were trying to, rather than going back and changing the charter rules, we wanted to reflect what was expected. We wanted to make sure that was what was expected of the advisory group was expected of the charter members as well.
Indeed.
So that's why we ended up keeping the language that came from the Charter Commission rules.
Thank you. I agree. Is there any more comments on the paragraph titled absences? Do we want to call that absences or attendance? How is it referred to in other documents?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we left it as absences.
Okay. That sounds good. And is there a comment on next to the required eligibility? Oh. the clicking you hear is me looking for something to put in the chat.
Just had a comment about the first line on the top of that page. Doesn't really make sense to me. Park district boundary lines, but use of such software is not required. Or maybe I guess I was reading that in isolation. From now I can see the whole thing, see if it makes sense. Okay. I was reading that in isolation. I think in the context, now that I can see the whole paragraph, it's fine.
The first sentence under required eligibility. If I may read a suggestion. Advisory group members must be eligible voters living in the city of Minneapolis. Within the 2 years of being appointed, advisory group members must not have, and then colon. How does that sound?
I think that reads better the way you said it. Yeah. Again, I guess in the number 2 there, again, there's a his or her. Maybe we can say there. Maybe we can look through the whole document, or just try to eliminate some of those gender things where we can.
Oh, yes. And I just plopped that sentence in the chat.
In the time commitment, and again, I guess I'm just wondering about consistency. It says kind of in the middle of that paragraph, let me find it now. There'd be up to 2 or 3 mapping meetings a week. And I was thinking somewhere else in the application, it said there could be 1 to 2 meetings a week. So, and I'm not sure if that was dealing with mapping or somewhere else, but maybe we can just look for consistency to see if that is consistent throughout the document.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Smith. Yes, Ms. Weber, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Chair. So for that consistency, what would we prefer it to say? Would we like to err on the side of saying there could be more meetings, or would we like to err on the side of 1 to 2?
I would probably err on the higher number, just to be safe, I guess.
I understand, to kind of prepare people for more meetings, and if there are fewer, then that may be a bonus. The opposite way around may cause some difficulty for people. They didn't understand quite the potential of how many meetings there would be. Are those yellow pieces comments that need to be addressed? I think they were addressed.
Yes, I think that's just how they appear in this uploaded version.
Of course. Yes, because we say may be held in the evening. So that's something that the group will determine. we do want to have the meeting, whenever we schedule the meetings, we don't want that to be a barrier to advisory group participation. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I just had a comment. I think it was a little bit above where we're at on the screen right now. It said that parking may be reimbursed. I don't know if other transportation, I know when I've been to meetings, I've usually take the train and I've been given a train token. I don't know if it would say, if it could say some parking or transportation. I don't know if we provide any other than public transportation. I don't know if anything besides parking would be reimbursed or not. But.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Along those same lines, it says this is a volunteer position and there's no compensation. I think you should separate those because he's right. What if people take the train versus parking? Some people, everybody don't drive, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I would separate those where people would know, you know, if you had to take other transportation, you would be reimbursed.
Okay.
Just
perhaps we could say parking or public transportation. We don't want to be reimbursing people for Uber rides.
There you go. There you go.
Metro Transit.
Just public transportation, I think.
Okay, public transportation. Are there other comments or questions? Okay. So without any other comments or suggestions, I will consider this accepted and approved to be voted on with all three documents at the end. The next item on our agenda is, I believe, is the interview process document. Yes. And again, as a reminder to take a look at what is on the screen. Regarding the yellow highlight, is there anything in particular to call our attention to, Ms. Weber? Or, oh, you have your hand up.
Yes, so this has been edited to match the updated phrasing because the questions were changed, as we saw earlier, to true-false questions.
Yes.
So this now for comprehensive, determination by looking at those questions, whether or not any questions automatically deem ineligibility. This is essentially showing that if you answer false to any of those 10 questions on the second page, the application would not be eligible. Or if you answer yes to any of the questions on the first page. So it's just phrased differently to match the new formatting that we all looked at earlier.
Terrific.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
I think the application was changed to do true and false, so I think it should be true instead of yes. I would think that's correct, Nicole, right?
Okay, let me. I mean, I'm sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding. This appears that if any of these questions were answered false, that would deem the application ineligible.
Right.
On your other document, Nicole, it still says yes instead of true. What the attorney is saying is make it say true instead of yes, because you've already changed no to false.
Got it. True.
And,
okay.
and
Thank
also
you.
it's not the last 3 questions. I guess you'll have to count the number of questions, but all of those questions that are true or false, anything false would be wrong and they'd be ineligible. So I would suggest just looking at the application that technically there's 9 questions, but it's any of the true and false questions on the second page. If they answer false, it would be ineligible.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Would you like to explain the difference between these 2 documents?
The one on the right-hand side was what you had sent most recently, Chair Garcia. So I think really the only difference aside from the question that we just went over together would be the interview scoring criteria that you had added. That's, as you can see, is not listed on the left-hand side. So something that we would want to incorporate into the document on the left-hand side if it's something that everyone agrees is what they'd like to keep.
And the typos within that chart, if we keep them, will be corrected because each of those enumerated 7 questions are supposed to be the exact questions that are listed immediately above. And some of them are duplicates, and they shouldn't be. Regarding So the only thing I did is for the question on the left-hand side, that's question F, as in Frank. I added on, would you be able to serve in a nonpartisan manner? So I combined question F and G. Yes. Or I meant to combine F and G, because the more questions we have, the harder it may be to assign a number of points to them in scoring. Do people have any questions on the scoring criteria?
See, on the document on the right, questions 5 and 6, are those the same question, I think?
That is, that's the typographical error.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are supposed to match the interview questions verbatim. Commissioner Sandberg?
I think it's actually 4, 5, and 6 are identical except for the points.
Yes. So they should match the. Thank you.
I had a question on just, says a preliminary non-binding estimate is interviewing 25% of the applicants.
Yes.
I guess I was just curious where that came from.
That was my estimate, that if we have perhaps 80 applicants and we were to interview 15 to 20, that it would be approximately 25%. I don't think we have to include an approximation in there, but
Yeah,
I wanted to. Mhm.
I guess I maybe would be in favor of just striking that last sentence, just because we don't really have any idea of how many applicants we might get. I mean, if we get 80, yeah, 25% is probably appropriate, but if we only get 20, probably not. So I'm not really sure it adds much to the application.
Of course, thank you. Agreed. Commissioner Sandberg.
I was just thinking, have you considered what your capacity is for conducting interviews? That is, given how long they're likely to be and so forth, you figure you can conduct approximately 25 interviews. I think last time we did 21. That would then make it obvious that what percentage you're going to be able to do once you have applications. And I don't know if there's any way of knowing how many will be disqualified or for whatever, but perhaps that hasn't been considered yet.
I think that we should plan on interviewing 20 or 25. But I would agree with Commissioner Smith to strike the last sentence with the percentage. I don't know that we need to, that sharing any additional information in number 2 would necessarily be value added unless we're able to be more specific, and until we know how many applications we get, we are unable to be more specific. Commissioner Sandberg.
So I'm just thinking of it from the position of the applicant.
Yes.
Someone sends in their application, they make it through the first round of qualifications, and they're not interviewed. Do we have anywhere something that indicates why a person might not have been selected for an interview? That's what I'm trying to get at with having a hard number. If you say we're only going to do 25 and somebody's not interviewed, you can say we only did 25 and you didn't make the top cut or something. I don't know. Again, it's getting into this whole trust and transparency concerns.
We can say we'll determine how many applicants would be interviewed based on interview. We would have to speak to the criteria in some way.
Or you could just say that not all applicants will be interviewed. Perhaps you say that there. I'm having trouble reading the tiny type. I have old eyes. Sorry.
Yes, perhaps we should just say that not all applicants will be interviewed. Thank you. And shall we, for number 3, shall we be consistent and say the advisory selection work group will recommend up to 9 applicants?
I think that makes sense. Even if we plan to do 9, I would say up to 9 just for consistency.
Okay. Good. Is there any other discussion on this?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the information we were sent this morning had interviewing, scoring, and number 4, 5, and 6 were the same thing. Has that been corrected on this one?
It is not corrected, but it's highlighted to make note that it needs to be changed.
So what are we, well, we're going to change it, or are we saying that 70% will be based upon nonpartisan manner in which to operate?
I'm sorry?
Well, number 4 is 20%, number 5 is 25, number 6 is 25. That's 70% for the same thing. Will you be able to operate in a nonpartisan manner? Do you have the city's interest at heart? So 75% is going to be based on that question. And why do we ask it three times?
Oh, it's a mistake that it's in there 3 times. It should reflect the actual question. So number 4 should be the redistricting group seeks representation and understanding from the various communities in the city. Tell us how your past community involvement will bring this diverse, there we go, diverse perspective to the table.
Then that's good. I understand now, and it's been corrected. Thank you.
Yes, and the reason those 3 are weighted higher is because I'm looking at the competencies and what we put forward as being priority for us in terms of bringing diversity to the redistricting group being unbiased and nonpartisan, knowledge of city neighborhoods, and experience as an active or involved resident. So that's why they have, thank you so much, Ms. Weber, for helping demonstrate what this ought to be. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, the formatting will be adjusted as appropriate. This is just to plug in the correct words. Thank you. So if there are no other comments, I will consider this approved and that it will proceed for consideration to the final vote on all three documents.
Madam Chair, is that the third of the three documents?
Yes, I believe it is. Are there any other, Ms. Weber?
Those were the three documents that we needed to review for this. Thank you.
Terrific.
So this then is where we would have the vote to approve the content subject to minor formatting and refer those to the full Charter Commission at its meeting next week.
Indeed, yes.
I would make a motion that we approve the application for appointment, the position description, and the process for interview is subject to minor revisions at the discretion of the work group chairs and city staff.
Thank you.
I'll second that, Kozak.
And I believe Hawkins seconded as well. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, will the clerk please take the roll on the motion?
Commissioner Hawkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commission Chair Clegg,
Aye.
Co-Chair Kozak,
Aye.
and Co-Chair Garcia.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Ms. Weber, for your fortitude in my complete confusion.
No problem.
For keeping us on track. Is it possible to share the agenda? I want to.
Yes, I can do that.
Share that. I believe we are done with the items on the agenda. Yes. Do we want to discuss how outreach and publicity will be done to recruit advisory group members? Commissioner Kozak? Let's see.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I was just wondering, what are the usual steps? The city has it. I assume this will be part. The city will put on its open appointment mechanism, right? They'll put all this on there.
Yes, it will be on their open appointments website. It will be sent to all the recognized neighborhood groups.
Mm-hmm.
And the neighborhood groups will have hard copy applications as well as conduct their own publicity. Commissioners, oh boy. Chair Clegg, I'm going to call on you because your time may be limited on the extent that you can be in on our meeting.
Thank you. I was just going to say, in addition, we would also use all of the city's social media accounts, Twitter, etc., to publicize the vacancies or the openings.
As well as push out via the, and encourage the city council members to put on their regular updates. Ms. Weber, did you have something to add?
Yes, there will also be an online form version of the application on the redistricting website itself if someone wants to submit directly through the redistricting website, as well as a PDF version on the website as well if an individual would prefer to download the PDF and submit it in a different manner.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, when the exciting news gets out there, in the event that some newspaper, Star Tribune or one of the blogs or one of the neighborhood newspapers wants to talk to someone, to whom should they talk? To whom should they be referred?
My customary response would be the Charter Commission chair. Commissioner Sandberg, we will get to you. I don't mean to, I just want to engage others in the process to see if some of your questions may be answered. Chair Clegg?
Nope, sorry, I keep forgetting I have to lower my hand.
Of course. Commissioner Sandberg, do you have additional questions?
Not additional questions, just I think this helps clarify that the Education and Outreach Committee has no role in this process. Our work really doesn't start till the listening session. So just that all the memos and emails from the last few months were clear. Good. Okay. Thank you.
Good. Yes. Okay, Commissioner Clegg, Chair Clegg, you look
now I do intend to have my hand up. Thank you. I would just comment that the roles of the two work groups, advisory groups, election, and outreach and education, in terms of outreach strategies, there will probably be a very broad overlap, both employing the same strategies. There's only so many strategies we have. But in terms of advisory selection, it's up to the advisory selection work group to pick which strategies it wants to use and when to pull the trigger on them. So I hope that makes it clear.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Okay, so I think that's just fine. I think that initially we thought we should be developing a plan for the Charter Commission coming up soon, but we're waiting because of concerns about consistency. So we will see what the advisory group selection, I can't remember the whole name, what they do, and then make sure that we are in fact internally consistent. The last thing we want to do is have competing messages out there. So yes, there will be quite a bit of similarity, I think.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments? Commissioner Sandberg is, there we go, just checking. Anyone else? Commissioner Kozak, your light is blinking. Do you have anything to add?
I don't think so, Madam Chair. Thank you, and especially thank thank the staff, Nicole and Maddie and Casey, for their patience and for their work, without which we couldn't have gotten this far. And thank you, Chair, for what you've done for this to get this process going.
I cannot agree with that more and chime in with that. I would also like to thank other city staff that may not be present at today's meeting. Ms. Kendrick from NCR, as well as Ms. Bashoon from the City Attorney's Office, and others from within the city who have helped support the process and ensured that internal controls that are applicable elsewhere within the city are applied to this process, and coordinated and worked with Ms. Weber in ensuring that. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. She has another meeting. If there is not any other questions or comments, we have then, I will say, we have concluded all business to come before the Charter Commission's Redistricting Advisory Member Selection Work Group. And without objection, we would stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, we are hereby adjourned.
Hey, Jill,
Yes,
are you still there?
I am.
Good. I'm going to turn off this recording if you and I can maybe just have a brief conversation.
Yes.
Let me get this recording off.